there. Oh my gosh, thanks so much for being here. I am so excited that you're here. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I made a whole bunch of cards and I realized I forgot to turn my camera on, and it's been a hot minute since I put my camera on. So I just wanted to record for you one of the cards and show you what I did. Now, during the holidays, I have so many projects that I need 20 Santa's helpers and I'm running out of time this year. So I tried to mass produce as many as I could, and I really fell in love with the PinkFresh studio release. I think it was last release, and I bought quite a few of the products. So let me show you what I did. So this is with stencils, and I just want to show you that your options. Some of them I put mats around them just to give it a little more color. Some of them I did not. The red, you have the red background. Majority of them are shaker cards. This one's not a shaker card. If you're not really fond of shaker cards, you don't have to make a shaker card. Some of them use the big stamp set that comes with the stencils. I'll show you the products in just a second. They all have matching envelopes. This one I used a cream background, gold shaker bits, which I really love. And as you can see, this one has a different stamp background. And there are just so many different options that you can do. This is not a shaker card when it comes to making these cards. So let me show you the products, and then let me show you what I did. So this is part of the PinkFresh Studio Tidings of Great Joy. You can see it's a well-loved stamp set. You have the Tidings stamp. I've used it quite a bit, as you can see. And then you have, on the other side, I keep everything together. There's also matching dies, the stencils. And PinkFresh Studio stencils are really, really easy to use. So I'm going to set those aside. I also use the Simon Says Stamp Christmas Blessings. I love all of these blessings, and every single one of them has a die, which is amazing. And then I also use the Altenew String Art Rectangle on some of them. I'm not sure I'm going to do that today or not, but if I don't, I'll show you how I did it. Well, actually, let me show you. Let me find it. Which one is it? It is right here. Oops, sorry. Adds a little, can you see the piercing right here? It adds that little piercing. And then I also use the Lawn Fawn Stitch Snowflake back on every single background. And then I use my brushes. These are the Tailored Expressions, I believe, but there's so many. Simon Says Stamp has them. I'm not going to show you my brush holder because I don't really like it. It just does not stay put. I grabbed a few of the Simon Says Stamp inks. I really do love the Simon Says Stamp inks because they graduated colors, but PinkFresh Studio has some great colors as well. I got some, get my head out of the way, Ice Chips by Honeybee, some, what are these called? Vanilla Sugar Snowflakes by Trinity Stamps, and I just have some pretty Pink Posh Sparkling Clear Stars that I really like, and I'll be using the Simon Says Stamp Ultra Fine Gold embossing powder. And that, oh yes, and I have my Waffle Flower Media Mat here for my stenciling. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Misty. And my Misty's right here. I'm going to move this out of the way for just a second. And I've already, I think I'd like to recreate one like this. So I already have my paper cut, okay? And I want to stamp on here, and I'm going to put this in the corner. This is a sticky mat because it's hard to do a bar when you have a full stamp like this. That piece of cardstock's dirty on that side, so let's use this one. And then I'm going to take the stamp out of the set. Easy to come out because it's been used a million times. Now, the one thing I want to tell you about these stamp sets like this is that they can get pretty weird looking. So you just really need to make sure that it's in there straight. I'm trying to center it on the cardstock so that I can cut my edges or do whatever I want to do. That looks pretty centered to me. I'm going to close the door on my Misty. Hopefully my paper will stay intact. All right, so for today, I think I'm going to use My Favorite Things Hybrid Black. So many black inks out there. It's just, you know. And I'm just going to give this a all over stamping. And then I have somewhere a dry erase eraser here it is, that I use. I know there's all kinds of tools, but I've had this tool for a really long time and it works really well for me. Now I don't like the way it's stamped down at the bottom here, so I'm just going to give that just a little tiny bit more. Make sure it's good. Oh, I'm happy. Okay. All right. We're going to close that up. We're going to set the Misty aside and we're going to grab our media mat. And it's pretty sticky, the media mat, but you could take a piece of tape if you wanted to, and I'm going to do that today just to make sure. I have so much crazy tape in my drawers. Altenew has a great tape. I know Simon Says Stamp has a new great tape, and I'll link to all of those for you so that you can pick that, or you can go to Amazon or go in your closet and find a tape. Now, the stencils are numbered. Let me see if I can find the numbers for you. I don't know if you could see that. It says stencil number 2. So I'm going to start with stencil number 1, which in this instance is the house. So what I'm going to do, and pardon my head here, I'm going to tape that down. I should have a sticky mat is what I should have gotten, but I didn't do that today. Sticky mat would be good, then I wouldn't have to tape it. But I'm going to tape that down, and I have decided, as I said, I'm going to do this blue one. So I'm going to grab my pink ink, and I think I like this guava right here. Now, since I don't really know what color I used last time, and I don't have a brush for every single ink color, I'm just going to give it a little cleanup right like that. I'm just going to go get a little, and I like to do a little, I don't want to get it too dark. I don't want that house to be too dark. So I'm just going to give that a little, use a little more pink. Oh, good. Happy with that. All right, we're going to set that aside. Take that stencil off. Now, if I was going to make another card, I would keep the tape on it, but since I've already made a bunch, I'm not going to. Now I'm going to find stencil number 2, and it says it in the corner, and that's number 4. That's number 3. So now we have stencil number 2. I want to make sure. Okay. So now I'm going to stencil over the leaves, and it lines up really, really easy. You got to get your head over it just to make sure that you're right on top of it. Now, I love making Christmas cards, and I love Copic markers, and I love watercolors. But when I'm trying to mass produce cards and it's November, I don't have time for that. So that's when I got really excited when companies came out with these layering stencils. So now I'm going to move on to stencil number 3. And again, it says it in the upper left-hand corner. I don't know if you can see that or not. And I need to get my head right over. I'm doing some more green. And I'm going to grab that tape that I just used. Of course, it's all stuck to each other. Well, trials and tribulations in the craft room. It's just letting you know. It's not that it's difficult. It just takes time. And you just got to make sure you're not putting your tape down so it sticks to each other. All right, and this is also, if you're looking at the prototype, this is also some green. So I think I want to go a little bit darker with the green, and I'm going to grab my Rabbit Hole Designs brush. I do love this brush, and I don't really care what greener is on there now, so I'm not even going to clean it off. And I'm going to make sure I don't get the door. You can see it just goes right in the little holes there. And see, that one right there is a little darker because I didn't tap it off first. So I just kind of blobbed it on. Now, some stencils are difficult. I'm going to let you know. I get really confused and I'm like, oh, why did I even buy this? So PinkFresh are not difficult, and because that one's so dark right there, I want to make a couple of these a little darker too. All right, now I need to do the door, and it's blue, and I did not grab any blue. PinkFresh Ocean Breeze. Definitely want to clean my brush because I don't know what the heck is on the blue. I make this a little blue door. Okay. Now we're moving on to the last and final stencil. Grab my tape, which is stencil number 4. And this is the roof, the chimney, and the berries. All right, I've got the cherry ink here from Simon Says Stamp, and I have Simon Says Stamp watermelon. So I'm going to grab my Simon Says Stamp pink brush. And as you can see, I've never used it. Just do a little, and just color everything, just a light hand of pink. And I just can't get over these detail brushes. And then I'm going to add a little red. Now, I don't know about you, but it is mid-November right this second, and I am so far from ready. I'm working on this crazy embroidery project, and my eyes were bigger than my stomach, and my gift list is longer than I think I have time for. Our house is on the market, so I kind of wasn't doing much crafting because I was afraid to mess up my room. Well, I don't really care right now. It's getting messed up. Okay, I want the roof, whatever I'm saying, the roof more red than the berries. All right, there you go. Oh my gosh, how quick was that? And again, if you're mass producing, you can stamp, layer 1, layer 2, or you can just do them one at a time. I'm not even cleaning my stencils off in between. If you're using the same colors, you don't have to mess with that. All right, let's move all of my tools out of the way. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to cut the center of this out with a matching die, which is right here. And we're going to make this a shaker card. So we're going to take this and get my head right up in there. I'm going to put my head right up in there so I don't look at the gray roots. I'm actually growing out my hair. I decided to take the plunge and see what the gray looks like. So I will let you know. Keep you posted. All right, now I'm going to move this out of the way. We don't need this anymore. I'm going to use my Platinum 6 machine. And I love this Magic Mat by, I think scrapbook.com carries it. I'm so tired of warped plates. I've had these plates for so long now. It's crazy. And they're not getting warped. This is just getting a little worn. Probably could be replaced. Sometimes I need a shim and sometimes I don't. So I'm going to start out without a shim. Oh, it's all backwards. I'm not left-handed. And then we're going to see what happens on this particular one. Feel some good pressure in there. I'm just not sure it cut the whole way through. Take a look. Oh, it did good. Okay. Now, in order to make a shaker, I'm going to show you a little trick, okay? Let me get some of these tools out of the way here. I've already pre-cut some cardstocks here. Okay, and we're going to just line them up, put one on top of the other. And we're going to take that same die and we're going to pop it in there. And they're lined up. All the edges are all lined up. And we're going to put it right on there. And we're going to cut it. We're going to cut it again. And what's going to happen is it's going to, well, maybe not. Depends. I'm going to do twice. Sometimes it cuts through that second layer and sometimes it doesn't, but at least it left me an impression. Oh, and it did cut through. All right. So I cut through number 1. All right. Now I'm going to use that one now so I'm not getting my my other one. I don't want to run the risk of it getting dirty or anything like that. So I'm going to put this one right in there again. It pops in like a puzzle piece. And I think I'm going to put 1 shim under, because that might just give it just a little bit more pressure to make sure that it does die cut the one underneath. And when you add that shim, you know, it's going to build up some muscles. Now, I save all of my scraps. I save every single one. I have a drawer. And when I'm doing sentiments and things like that, I am grabbing the scraps. See what happened? That one got a little bit dirty from what was underneath, but I don't care. It's going to be the shaker. But that's my original, so that's the one I'm going to keep because I'm going to do a whole bunch of these. I think I have 4 or 5. And we're just going to die cut all of these, and we're going to turn this into a really, really fun shaker card. And the reason I do it this way, you can do it different ways. Sometimes I use tape, sometimes I don't. But in this situation, the I don't situation, I'm lining it up because I think it gives a much cleaner edge on the inside since you got so many jagged edges. I'd rather do this than cut tiny little pieces of foam and stick them all around and then seethe it all. I don't think it gives such a clean look on your shaker card, but of course it's your card and you can do whatever you want. All right, I got one more. If I can get that piece of tape off of there, I'd be all set. So as I said, our house is on the market, and we built our dream house. I have a dream craft room. It's actually on YouTube if you want to see it and say goodbye. It's just too much for my husband, who has physical limitations. He used to golf. He can't golf anymore, and it's a really big neighborhood, but we're kind of spread out, and I want to move where there's just a little, not necessarily more population, but people are a little closer. I'm past the age where I need to be isolated from people. If people aren't around me, I'll be up in my craft room all day and not talk to anybody all day. I don't know about you, how you craft, but I could craft all day and probably not even eat. Okay, we're going to set that aside. And here's our walls for our shaker. Well, if we lined them all up, there you go. Look how nice and smooth that is. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Alrighty, now what we need to do is I want to cut those down a little bit because I am going to use that pierced border to cut this down. I'm using this to cut down this card right here because I do want to have a little border. So I'm just going to center this around it. I'm not measuring or anything. I'm just kind of taking a look at the house. I'm looking at the house and I'm looking up here. I got a little bit of green covered there. Let me get a little more green. Let's just center it between the two. All right, that looks good. No one's going to know if it's not. All right, I'm going to put that in my Platinum 6 machine, and I'm going to cut that through. It's going to leave some pierced dots, which I really, well, you know what. Look at that boo-boo. It left pierced dots. That is true. But it did not cut the edge of my card. So, now, what am I going to do? All right, well, this is what I'm going to do next. It's really dark in here because I think it's like the dark 30 in my house, but the dots are lined up. You can see them lined up here, and there's like a little impression. It's hard to see. There's dots, and then there's an impression. So I'm going to take one side. I think I'll take the side. There's my head again with the, I'm going to get down here. I want the dots to show. So I'm just putting the dots just under this arm here. Well, I'm not sure what's happening because my camera keeps turning off. But we'll figure that out another day. Okay, so what I did was I took these right here and I cut 1/4 of an inch off each side. And then what I was talking about is the housing market. The housing market has changed. It's no longer the white hot market. People aren't doing bidding wars anymore, which is awesome. So now people aren't buying houses that they can't afford just because they're in a bidding war. Let me straighten this out and see if this is straight here. I have no idea. Something weird is happening. And I love this honeybee craft glue. It's one of my faves. I also love Gina K's glue. So I'm going to run a thin bead of glue, that one's a little too thick, around these and make my shaker walls. So I've got 4 walls I'm making. I just want to make sure I'm lining up the centers. You don't want your shaker bits to come out. Now, as I said, I have my dream craft room. Everything has a home. I also have like a separate closet for things. And I don't know what my next craft room's going to be like. I really don't know. It's going to be smaller. And I know I'm not going to have the storage. And I've already purged things. And of course, after I purged a few things, I'm like, well, what did I do with that brown butcher paper? Or what did I do with that wrapping paper? And of course, I wanted it back, and I didn't have it. So I had to punt. A couple of things I've had to repurchase, which is just so weird. Not expensive things, but you think, oh, I'll never use it. I haven't used it in 10 years. And of course, I've used it. I need it. Now, I hate to get rid of anything. Okay, there we go. Oh my gosh, looks so good. Okay, so let me tell you what I do. I have my card base here. And I'm going to score it with my score buddy at 4 1/4. And I'm going to fold it at 4 1/2. So this is my card base. But I found when I'm making a shaker card, well, I probably could glue this on. But I find it a lot easier to do it this way. Cut a smaller piece of cardstock down to grab the Lawn Fawn Stitch Snowflake cover plate. Lay it on top. I'm going to put that through my Platinum 6. No rhyme or reason. It doesn't really matter because the snowflakes are all over pattern. With that beautiful snowflake pattern. And then I'm probably going to want to cut it down just a little bit so the edges aren't hanging over. Do you see that? I'm going to cut that down just a tad. Probably like a 1/4 inch on each side, maybe. There we go. See how nicely that fits on there? I mean, so good. Okay. So I found a sheet of acetate. Simon Says Stamp has some great acetate, and I'll link it for you. Now, when you handle acetate, be a little careful because you don't want to scratch it. And I know this is a little bit smaller, so I'm going to cut this down to 3 3/4. I cut a 1/2 inch off by 5. You don't want to scratch it, and it's also full of static. I made a shaker card not too long ago, and I forget what I used, but everything stuck to the acetate. So what you can do is you can take your embossing tool. I love this one by Rabbit Hole Designs. And if I could get it to work, I'd be all set. Here we go. And just do a little, and then you can brush off all the powder. That keeps your acetate from attracting and everything sticking to it, especially this time of year in the winter. All right, so let's put this together. I'm going to put the acetate on top of here, and I probably could cut it down a little bit more. Do you see that, how it's just too big? So I'm going to take some scissors and do that. There's really no need to get out the machine again, just a little bit on each side. And I like to use liquid glue. Just got to be careful with liquid glue because it does ooze out and get everywhere, and you don't want it to ooze out all over your acetate. So I'm going to put a nice line here around the edges, but just be careful. I'm going to be very careful how I do here. And if there's any globs, I promise you they will ooze out. So what I'm going to do is take my finger and just do like a little action like this. And that will ensure that it glues, but it does not ooze out. Now I'm going to make sure that bead is gone as well. Putting my acetate right on top. Hitting it with my tool. And now I'm going to glue this right on top of that. How's that? And again, same thing. Make sure that your glue, when you do it, I don't have to worry so much about the bits shaking out of this top, but I need to worry that the glue does not seep out. Now, this is definitely stand up and get your head over it kind of thing. And do you see how amazing that is? Like if I was doing tape, you would see all those weird things. And the beauty about liquid glue is you have a little bit of wiggle room and you can move things around. I do see a little powder left behind. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to fill this with my shaker bits that I picked out before. And I do love these snowflakes. And they are thick. They're like a clay. So you don't want a whole bunch of these. There's a broken one. We don't want that one at all. Just a few. Well, I guess it's a matter of opinion what a few is, right? And lay them out flat because you don't want them stacked up because I said they are a little on the thicker side. And then you could add some, I'm adding some stars. And then I do want to add a few ice chips because it's a snowflake card and I just love these ice chips. Okay. Now I'm going to take my glue again and just move these around a little bit so they're not stacked up high. And I'm taking that blue one that I cut. This is just how I like to do shaker cards. The snowflake that I cut, and I'm going to put it right on top. And it doesn't matter. Doesn't need to line up anywhere exciting. And then I'm going to take that whole card. I'm going to glue it onto my card front. Make sure it's right side up. So the inside matches the card, so no one would ever know that it's a separate piece of paper, piece of cardstock. And then I'm going to put something heavy on top. I have these big blocks that I like to use, and I'll put those on top. Okay, so you could do the Tidings of Great Joy, but I think today I'd rather just stamp a little small greeting from this Simon Says Stamp Christmas Blessings. So I'm going to stamp Merry Christmas. And I'm going to use my mini Misty. I love my little mini Misty I'm going to set that aside for small stamp sets. I haven't used the Merry, well, let me just see. Maybe I don't want to use the Merry Christmas. Will it fit across there? That's a little too big. Here we go. How about wishing you so much joy? Should we find it first? We know it's stacked up. Here it is. We'll put our joy in. We'll put our, all right. And then we're going to stamp it again. Lightly this time. Let's do that one a little again. A little again. So the goal of the video was to not have any editing and to just kind of talk as I crafted. I'm calling it craft and chat is kind of was my goal. And as you can see, that did not work out today. But I'm hoping in future videos, that is my goal. I want to do a craft and chat. I just want to talk. Just talk about life and crafting and the holidays. And I want to know what you bake and how many people do you have over? And, you know, is it stressful for you? And do you decorate? And do you do more now? If you're older, do you do less now than when you were younger? Or I'm just writing this through my die cut machine. You know, my kids are all coming for Thanksgiving this year. Oh, there we go. And no one's coming for Christmas, which is the first time I think in my whole life, well, that's my whole adult life, that since I had children, that no one's been to my house for Christmas. So the question is, how much am I going to decorate since nobody's coming? Because it takes me like 8 hours to decorate. And so I think this year, I'm sorry, I'm just cleaning this stuff up so we can actually see my table. So I think this year I'm going to decorate though. I just don't want to not decorate. I think that would be sad. Okay, now I could die cut a whole bunch of those. And I would normally, but you're not going to believe this, but I put it back in the container and I don't want to have to dig it out. So I'm not going to. So I'm going to get my foam tape out and I'm just going to do a little foam tape. And you can see when you get in assembly line mode and you're working on these, I'm just cutting little thin strips. You could mass produce this card. I think I made, well, I'm going to get them all out again and show them to you. Little tiny foam strips. I think I made all of these cards in less than a day. I mean, a day meaning, let's see, a day, 6 hours, let's say. So in card making world, as you know, it takes, I'm going to kind of center it down below. Well, not really center it, but kind of put it down below, center it over the house. And there you go. There you go. Get yourself a matching envelope. Simon says stamp Gina K. They have my favorite envelopes. There even is a lighter blue, which I don't have. So not counting this card, I made, and you can do the exact same thing without the shaker bits and without the acetate. All of these cards in 6 hours. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 or 14 cards in 6 hours. And you know, in card making world, that is a lot. That's a lot of cards. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry it was stupid. Well, not stupid, but that it didn't work out as well as I wanted it to. But stay tuned. My next video, I'm going to perfect this camera and we are going to stamp and chat with another group of products from PinkFresh that I bought. When I said I bought almost the whole release, and I can't wait because we're going to do some foiling, which is not my forte. So you can kind of watch me fumble as I'm working on all that. All right, see you next time. Oh yeah, and if you like the video, please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I'm Positively Jane. My YouTube channel has a variety of things. I talk about life, I talk about money, I talk about crafting. I like to encourage women to choose joy every single day, to rise above the circumstances that kick us in the butts. Don't let our lives, our circumstances turn us into people that we don't want to be. I've been a blogger for 4 years. I have over 400 blog posts. So check out positivelyjane.net. Dig around. There might be something that interests you much more than crafting or making cards. All right. Thanks.